is a wooden construction toy called Stix-N-Bitz. I am a recently retired STEM teacher. I taught K through 6th grade, and I have 25 years experience teaching science and engineering. I created this toy with my students and for my students because of the next generation science standards. You're required as a science and engineering teacher to teach the engineering design process, and that involves giving kids a challenge, asking them to imagine a solution, asking them to design a solution, build a prototype, test the prototype, and improve the prototype. And many of the kits that are on the market now are designed, actually engineered by an adult, and they're asking students to assemble it, not to engineer it. Whereas Stix-N-Bitz is an open-ended kit that truly has endless possibilities. As an example, I will give you an example, which is for 3rd grade, I challenged kids to create a vehicle that could run down a ramp for 20 feet. And if I had a classroom of 30 students, I would get 30 unique vehicles. And that allowed them to then take engineering ownership of their project. You can see the guy who keeps running into the wall. His wheels are very wobbly, which he would then go back and tighten those wheels and have, and then be engaged in an actual engineering process. There are other open-ended kits on the market. Most of them are plastic, and most of them don't have the structural rigidity that's necessary for things like catapult challenges, trebuchets, bridges that span a certain distance and hold a certain amount of pressure, towers that reach a certain height and have structural rigidity. So, but Stix-N-Bitz is made of solid materials that kids can use to create structures that can sustain a lot of pressure and torque. Also, we've heard a lot tonight about microplastics. A lot of plastic toys will end up in the landfill, whereas Stix-N-Bitz are sustainable, they're ecological, they're biodegradable. Heck, you can just burn them in your wood stove. But more importantly, they are reusable. I used the same materials for 10 years with my students, and if I hadn't retired, I would still be using them for another 20. They're very durable. There's a tremendous market growth predicted for wooden construction toys within the next 7 years. They're predicting that it will be a $5.8 billion industry. I've identified 5 user groups. I just added one. I've identified 5 user groups. Obviously, the elementary school student. Stix-N-Bitz helps them to develop their fine motor skills and their spatial reasoning. This age group prefers open-ended play and pre-builds. The teen user is more interested in more complex engineering challenges that involve gears, pulleys, motors, robotics. Stix-N-Bitz can incorporate all of this. And at the end of this presentation, I'm going to show a 30-second video of a 6th grade Carnival Ride project that incorporated robotics using Stix-N-Bitz. The next market is the eco-conscious household, the home market, basically. And statistics show that the majority of parents are looking for sustainable, durable, ecological toys toys and educational toys, and that they're willing to pay a premium, up to 200% more for this kind of construction kit. The next market that I've identified, thanks to AI, is there's something called the kidult market, which is really the young adults or the old adults who are young at heart, who are just looking for fun group activities with their friends and trying to get off screens. These are my real friends. Really came over and played with my toy. And then this is the new market that just to get identified. I have been invited to bring a kinetic sculpture, very similar to this marionette, to the Dynamic Landscapes Vermont Fest Educational Conference in November. And and to build a large kinetic structure that's kind of multi-person, mechanical, kinetic sculpture for this festival. And I've identified 3 avenues of marketing. One is educational catalogs, STEM educational catalogs, toy stores for the home setting, and then online sales for the kidults. I guess. And so obviously once I can upscale production, I can increase my marketing avenues, but those are my initial 3 identified markets. The timeline is that Jumpstart has been tremendously important for me to be able to do the prototype and testing. I'm just at the point where I've gotten most of the business-related foundations done, and I'm ready to hatch the egg and do a launch, creating 100 kits. I can't put specific prices on it now because I'm really focusing on getting the manufacturing piece down. But I'd like in the next 5 years to increase production and go into a larger scale marketing. And I'd like to always have any percent of profit go back to STEM educational initiatives, close to my heart. So what is the ask? So for 10 years I had students saying, Ms. Gauvin, these are so fun. How can we get some of these to use at home? And I always said, well, you can't. Because you are the only students on the planet who get to use this toy. But I would like to change that. Now that I'm retired, I have time to focus, and I'd like to change that. And so if you would like to help me change that, you can purchase a beta kit. I have a few here tonight. You can become an investor. I would absolutely love that, because the manufacturing process, it has a high initial start cost. I'm looking for manufacturing advice. I have many irons in the fire right now with looking into various forms of manufacturing, but I'm always looking for advice. You can connect me to schools that you know of that might be interested in piloting this product. And lastly, you can just join my email list to follow the progress of what we're doing. Here's my video. Okay. And coding. So it was a lot of fun. Thank you very much, and come see me at my table.
Thank you.